So this is a hard video for me to create. I wasn't sure if I should even make one, and I wasn't sure about the best way to approach the protest situation here in Panama. Partly because of an expat, we can't discuss anything against the government. We can't really get involved in protests. And the other reason is Panama is a part of me. My grandmother was born here, and my great-grandfather worked on the Panama Canal Railroad in the early 1900s. So this is something that's been really hard for me to process because it's part of my heritage. I live here now, and I'm an environmental engineer. But I want to start by saying I'm safe. Thank you for everyone who's been checking in and messaging me. I'd rather live here than in the United States. And I have to admit, at times I've been nervous, I've been on edge, but I really still feel more comfortable here than I do in the US. Nothing has made me so uncomfortable that I want to leave. As a permanent resident, I cannot and will not partake in any demonstrations or protests, so please don't ask me any questions about my opinion. I'm not going to answer them. This video is not about that. What matters is my experience in preparing for the protest. Living here during them, getting groceries, running errands, having a disability during these times, tips and lessons learned, answering questions about traveling here, and misinformation on social media and WhatsApp groups. That's what will be covered in this video. At the time of this recording, November 2nd, Panamanians have been protesting a mining contract that went into effect on October 20th. A lot of Panamanians feel that it's detrimental to the environment and that it was signed with a lot of corruption, and they're protesting the contract and the history of corruption in this country. So stay tuned to the end of this video. I'm going to reference other YouTubers and social media influencers who have made videos on the mining contract, these protests, history, and has just given different perspectives on what it's like living here and current events for these protests. I believe these videos can give you more context and can help you in your research. With that said, let's get into this video where I discuss what it's been like living here in Panama City during these protests, and more specifically the Avenida Balboa region and or the Cinta Costera. So I first heard there was going to be a protest in a WhatsApp group on October 19th. I didn't give it much thought because protesting is part of Panama's culture, and I'd seen some protesting here and there regarding the mines. Later day in the same group, someone posted an update from the US Embassy here in Panama regarding the protests. Then that Friday, someone posted people burning tires on the Cinta Costera, and I went outside and I saw tires burning myself. So when they start to burn tires, that's the indication sometimes that they're about to shut down a street or a highway. They can do it with people protesting. I've seen them do it with tires. I've seen them do it with cars. And in other parts of the country, I've seen them do it with rocks or trees. Now, I do want to say when I first moved to Panama in July of 2022, it was during a protest. And that protest was completely different than the one we're experiencing now. If I remember correctly, it was about the minimum wage, medications, bread baskets, gasoline subsidies. There were a whole bunch of things that protest was about, and it had a completely different feel for me in Panama City. I cannot discuss what the protests have been like in other parts of the country. I'm only referencing Panama City. I was about to move to Panama. I already signed my lease, and I was starting to get nervous. I know a lot of you watching are in the US or wherever and are like, what's going on? You're kind of nervous as well. You either had a vacation or you were planning on moving, and you're wondering if you should still come. So during that time, I was almost stalking the Facebook groups and WhatsApp chats just to get a sense of what it was like with the demonstrations and protests. And I decided to come. And the reason why I decided to come a year ago was because Panama was going to be my home. And if protesting is a part of their culture, I needed to understand it and I needed to experience it. So I decided to come. So I want to be clear, I'm in no ways telling you if you're in this situation now to come to Panama if you're planning on living here. This protest is completely different than what I experienced a year ago. It's up to you and your level of comfort, your level of security, and whether or not you want to come to Panama or not. And we'll get into that later on. Once I started to realize it was a bit more serious than what I'd seen in the past regarding these mining protests, I decided to go grocery shopping. I was treating it like it was a hurricane. I didn't know how long it was going to last, and we hired a driver to take us around to different places. We got pet food, medication to last a few months, and went to Price Mart, which is the equivalent of like a Costco if you're from the US. And the Price Mart was packed. I got whatever I thought I would need, like a bunch of water, frozen veggies. I don't remember what else I got, but you get the idea. Frozen meats, blah, blah, blah. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, I have cerebral palsy. I walk with a limp. And if I walk for long distances, carry heavy items, or stand for a long amount of time, I'll get tired, my back will start to hurt. So I knew making all of these grocery stops was going to be tiring and kind of draining on me. And in hindsight, I probably should have been more strategic with which ones I did first, but it is what it is. One of my friends ended up going shopping for me at the last stop because my back was just killing me. Thanks, Cammy. But if you are disabled or you have walking impairments, you have to be more strategic with this. I have a picture of a van that I saw months ago that looks like it assists people with scooters or wheelchairs. I would call them to see if they provide services during these times and ask them if there's anyone else that would be able to help you. The same day that we went shopping, the Ministry of Education stated that schools were going to be closed. I think they still were doing online school, but in-person education was going to be shut down. I don't remember for how long. Someone in the comments, you can help me with this. I don't remember the details. But again, that made me pause some more. You start to see that things are starting to escalate with what's shutting down, how many people are going grocery shopping, and the tone was just a bit different than what I experienced before. So the next day, Monday, I went to the bank. I wasn't sure if the banks were going to be open or closed. I wasn't sure if there were going to be long lines. Again, I don't like standing in long lines. And the bank that I typically go to was completely boarded up. Like all the glass windows were boarded up. So they were preparing. During the same bank run, I went to a mailbox, etc. They were boarded up as well. So in Panama City, I've just learned to run all my errands in the morning. If I can get out at 8 o'clock, I can. Like I got my hair done at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was home by like 9:30. The protests around my area, they might block off a road around like 10:30, 11, 12, 1, and then from 4 to 6, and then whenever else. You just don't know. There's no guarantee on when it's going to happen. There might be a planned one, and there might be one we don't know about, and it just pops up. So during this time, navigating the city, the Ubers are running, the taxis are running. I chose to hire a personal driver to take me around because I feel safer that way. He'll either wait for me outside the store or he'll go in with me to help me run my errands. That way I'm not standing outside waiting for Ubers. You know, there's one time I wanted to order lunch and the driver was like, Balboa was closed. Well, Avenida Balboa is the street I live on. They said it was closed. I didn't realize it had been blocked off. There are ways to navigate around, but it can take longer and some Ubers sometimes don't want to go to the area. So I just feel more comfortable with the driver. Okay, so the metro has been running. It may not stop at every normal stop. If a station is closed, it'll just bypass it. That's another way people have been getting around. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't feel comfortable with crowds. If something happens and people start pushing and running, I'm a goner. I will most probably trip and fall. I'll get pushed and trampled. So I don't even want to be bothered with that. It's a personal driver for me during these times. So the airports. Throughout these protests, there have been several ongoing rumors all over the place that the airports are going to close. I saw it on Instagram, I saw it on Facebook, I saw it on WhatsApp groups, and no one gave any definitive information that the airports were to close. And this is where it gets dangerous in these groups. You have to research everything you can. I had a trip planned, and when someone said the airports were closing, I got really nervous. And I was like, who said that? What? And the answer I was getting wasn't sufficient enough. So I went to the airport's website, didn't see anything. I went to the Instagram account, I didn't see anything. I went to the U.S. Embassy website, they didn't mention anything. So a week later, a few days later, the airports are still running. You have to really, really be careful during these times. A lot of people are trying to help. A lot of people are nervous. A lot of people are anxious. A lot of people are angry. And things just spread like wildfire, whether they're true or not. So please, please, please try to do all your research as well as listen to the information that people are giving on the ground here. Okay, so as I just mentioned, the U.S. Embassy has been providing updates, not daily, but every day, every other day, every couple of days on the escalation of the protests, what's going on, and their advice. So here are some examples of their updates for you to review, and I'll link the website to the U.S. Embassy in Panama down below in the description for you guys. So let's discuss navigating Facebook groups, WhatsApp, and the information you might find on social media. I wholeheartedly feel bad for all the admins of these groups during these times. A lot of information is coming in. A lot of debating has been going on, and the tone can change rather quickly. So I just applaud all of the admins for these groups. I don't know how you guys do it. So, okay, I'm just going to say this now. Throughout this video, you might hear noise outside, and I'll get to that shortly. I was quickly trying to make this video before they started, and you just never know when they will. So some of the advice given in these groups is really, really important, like road closures or street closures or where protests are going to be. You do not, I repeat, you do not want to be caught in them off guard. The ones in Panama City thus far during the day have been relatively calm. Some advice given is up-to-date information on which roads and streets to steer clear from. Why is this important? Because you can be stuck for hours on end. It can also be dangerous. Cars will just turn around on a one-way street and start driving like it's a two-way street. My nerves could barely handle trying to get this footage for you guys. Can you imagine trying to drive like that and people are driving right towards you on a one-way street as if it's a two-way street? Okay, let's discuss some noise. Depending where you are in the city, it can sound like a nightclub or carnival. Panama sign is a popular spot for a lot of the demonstrations and protests. They've happened in the morning, they've happened midday, they've happened in the evening. Last night, I swear it ended at 10 o'clock p.m. I really feel bad for anyone who has to work the next day, who is working during that time, who has to get up early. It's noisy, like it's full-fledged party. You might as well be on your balcony and dance with them because it's a nightclub. I mean, imagine trying to record a YouTube video during all of that. light sleeper like me, I've been using earplugs and noise canceling earbuds. Okay, so let's discuss the police. There have been some clashes with protesters, and from what I've seen in Panama City, around Avenida Balboa, I cannot speak for anything else other than the strip I'm on. I've seen them supporting the protesters in ways of just making sure cars are going the right way. They're leading them through a street and following up behind them. And then there have been other times they've been lined up, shoulder to shoulder, like protest formation, firing tear gas. There was one time I heard something going off. Me being nosy, I looked out the window, which was dumb because the wind blew tear gas into my face. It didn't feel good. So if you hear something going off, just close your windows. I have cats. Every night I try to close the windows when I can before I go to bed because you just never know when it's going to be used. I do want to discuss something regarding the tear gas. When I first moved here, I would hear pop, 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 and I first thought they were gunshots. They were not. It was firecrackers. Firecrackers in the morning, at noon, at night, on a Friday, on a Tuesday, whatever it was just firecrackers. And my initial inclination was gunfire because of the trauma and conditioning from the US. So a year living here, a lot of us first heard these pop, 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 pops, and we thought they were fireworks. It wasn't. It was the police shooting tear gas. That's an interesting dynamic where you came from a culture where you have a lot of guns, and your first thought is that's what the noise was. Then you come to a culture and you decompress from that and you start to think it's fireworks, and then now it can be tear gas. It can be flares from protesters just celebrating. You don't know what it is during these times, but you just have to be aware of that. And I thought it was an interesting, what's the word? Not turn of events. I thought it was interesting to notice how I was conditioned to believe it was something after leaving the US. So, should you come to Panama right now? I've received a lot of messages, people WhatsApping me, contacting me all over social media, asking if they should still come. They had a trip planned, they had a vacation, they're moving in November, December. We don't have a crystal ball, and I don't mean to sound sarcastic or snarky. We don't know when these protests are going to end. We don't know how they're going to escalate. We just don't know. All we know is living day to day right now. And as harsh as that sounds, it is what it is. I would not feel comfortable telling someone to come and then something happens to them. You have to do what's right for you and what makes you comfortable and what your family feels comfortable with. You have to give thought to, if you're coming, let's say for vacation, are you taking away resources like food from people that live here? Or by you coming, are you helping to support tourism? I can't answer that for you. Those are questions you have to answer for yourself. So please, people, stop asking me if you should come. I'm not going to answer that for you. Okay, so here's some videos that some other YouTubers have created, or some videos from social media influencers that I found to be really, really helpful. They give different perspectives on Panamanian protests, history, current events, current closures, their advice. So one from I Go Panama, they discuss travel advice, what to expect, breaking news. They also have a website where they provide updates on closures and happenings. almost every hour or every few hours whenever she can get around to it. Black expats in Panama interviewed a Panamanian historian who's very knowledgeable, and he really gave great insight in history to government corruption, how Panamanians protest, and just what led up to today's, not today's protest, but this protest. Bob Adams also did a video on the current events, and he's been a long time Panamanian resident that I also follow. The Chosen Few Expats, they take a deep dive into the Canadian mining contract with First Quantum and associated articles. So I really hope that this video has been helpful in kind of showing you what it's been like for me living here as an expat during protests. Again, Panama is my chosen home. Panama is my home. I do not want to leave. I love it here, and I feel safer here than I do in the US, even during these times. And that says a lot. Specifically, living for sequence of events, protest. It's Sunday. Okay, doesn't matter.